Under the surface, in the shadowy valleys of the Styx and the Acheron, there stands a gate, rarely seen by mortal eyes and even more rarely returned from by those who pass through it. At this gate waits a creature, the judgment itself, 3 heads and a single will to separate the worlds of the living and the dead. Legend says that the shades of the past cannot return to the light and that no living soul may trespass into the realm of death unpunished. Ancient poets wrote that his bark shook the underworld like an earthquake. His venomous drool gave birth to deadly plants, and his serpent-tail struck down the reckless like a viper. This is Cerberus. But why did the Greeks believe that he stood as the eternal warden of order in endless darkness? At the end of this video, we will reveal a curious secret inscribed on ancient golden tablets. An instruction the initiates believed would let one slip past the beast, not with strength, but with a skill so strange and unexpected it could silence even death's own guardian. Cerberus, known to the Greeks as Cerberus, is the guardian of Hades' gates in Greek mythology. He is no mere hound, but a boundary made flesh, the embodiment of law and order at the edge of chaos. His one and only task is, no soul may leave and no intruder may enter without divine sanction. In most depictions, he is a massive 3-headed dog with a serpent's tail and snakes coiled around his mane. To the mythic imagination, Cerberus was not just a monster. He was the threshold itself, binding mortality to the laws of the gods. In a sense, Cerberus was not only the watchdog of Hades, but of the earth itself. Some scholars trace his name to the Greek word kriaboros, which means flesh-devouring, tying him directly to the soil. After all, hellhounds are not the only flesh-eaters when one remembers the natural cycle of decay. As the ancients wrote, the bodies of the dead sink into the earth, and only the bones remain. Cerberus appears throughout Greek myth and Roman literature and across the arts of both antiquity and modern times. His image and the stories around him shift depending on the author, yet his role as gatekeeper endures. Hesiod's Theogony names him the offspring of Typhon and Echidna, born from the lineage of monsters. Homer hints that only one mortal ever dragged him to the surface, Heracles. But how could any man overpower a monster like this? We'll get there soon. And later, Dante himself placed him in the 3rd circle of hell, not guarding the dead but tearing at the souls of the gluttonous in icy rain. Why did each age reinvent Cerberus? Was he just a monster or a mirror for humanity's sins? Each age measured him by its own sins, yet his role never changed. The force that guards, that restrains. In essence, Cerberus embodies human frailty, the fear of death, and the perils of the underworld, while also representing the power of those who dare to overcome them. And why is the gates of death be guarded by a 3-headed dog? The underworld is a nightmarish mirror of our world. In life, dogs are man's loyal companions and guardians of the home. In death, Hades' terrifying hound swollen to monstrous size stands sentinel at the very threshold of eternity. In classical depictions, Cerberus is a towering beast, a massive dog with 3 wolfish heads. Snakes writhe through his mane, and his tail lashes like a living serpent. Steam pours between his fangs. His breath is hot and foul, and his bark reverberates through the cavern walls like thunder. The chain that binds him to Hades' gate is no mere iron. It is law itself obeyed by every shade.
I do not let the dead return to light, nor the living descend to darkness.
But if he was unbreakable, how did heroes like Orpheus and Heracles find a way through? Keep watching and discover the only way mortals could pass Cerberus. Cerberus is a ferocious guard dog. His greatest strength lies in his tireless vigilance. His 3 heads and monstrous size make him nearly unbeatable to any who attempt to sneak in or escape the underworld. Unlike many mythic beasts, his power is bound to his post. He must guard the gate until the end of time, and he can never abandon his watch of his own will. He has chthonic powers. As a creature of the underworld, Cerberus is imbued with otherworldly strength and resilience. Where mortals would fail, his monstrous nature endures. His loyalty to Hades is unmatched, perhaps his most defining trait. Cerberus serves without question, embodying both the inescapability of death and the order of the underworld. He is venomous and fearful. His drool births poisonous plants in the soil, and his presence alone fills mortals with paralyzing dread. His snake-like appendage strikes swiftly, said to wound not only flesh but the soul itself. But here's the twist. His greatest strength was also his greatest weakness, because in every legend he is never slain, only tricked. So how do you trick the own guardian of death? The 12th labor of Heracles. His final and most impossible task was to drag Cerberus out of the underworld itself. Hades gave him permission, but only if he fought barehanded, without blade or shield. The serpent-tail struck him with venom. The 3 heads snapped and roared, yet Heracles locked the beast in a brutal stranglehold until its strength faltered. At last he bound Cerberus in unbreakable adamantine chains and hauled him upward into the world of men. When Eurystheus saw the monstrous hound, he fled in terror, diving headfirst into his great jar to hide. Before departing, Heracles freed Theseus from the cursed chair of forgetfulness. Though when he tried to lift Pirithous, the very earth screamed in protest, forcing him to release him forever. Story of Orpheus and Eurydice. At the gates of the underworld, the beast stood ready. But Orpheus did not reach for a weapon. Instead, he plucked the strings of his lyre, and a melody so haunting filled the darkness that Cerberus lowered his heads and drifted into slumber. It was not might, but music and beauty that stilled the guardian, proving that art can tame what even swords cannot. Aeneas was led by the Sibyl into the underworld's depths. He prepared not for battle but for cunning. He cast before the hound a honey cake, drugged and heavy with sleep. Cerberus devoured it greedily with all 3 mouths. Moments later, the monster's eyes dimmed and the colossal head slumped to the ground, overcome by unnatural drowsiness. Thus Aeneas slipped past, proving that sometimes knowledge and guile succeed where strength would fail. In myths, Cerberus is not defeated but tricked or temporarily subdued in the service of heroic tasks. These tales do not diminish his power, but they highlight the heroism required to face such a formidable guardian. Cerberus is more than a monster, he is a symbol. In the Mediterranean world, dogs guarded thresholds, bridges, graveyards, and shrines. Liminal spaces between the sacred and the profane, the living and the dead. His three heads may represent the three aspects of time: past, present, and future. As a monstrous but loyal guardian, Cerberus reflects the Greek understanding of death. Terrifying, but necessary. He is not evil, but fearsome. He represents the natural order of life, including death itself. And here is the most shocking piece of evidence that may connect directly to Cerberus. Are you ready? That's where the Orphic Tablets enter the story. Tiny golden tablets discovered in graves across Greece and southern Italy. Instructions are etched into them for the soul's journey beyond.
To the right, by the white cypress, lies a spring, avoid it. To the left, you will find the pool of memory, drink there. Say, I am a child of earth and starry heaven. I am parched, give me to drink.
On several of these tablets appear references to guardians, even to a hound, whom the soul must bypass not with violence, but with knowledge. To the Orphics, the gatekeeper did not restrain the body, but ignorance itself. One who knew the password, one who remembered, could pass. And what of the mortal trick? Ancient sources describe a simple yet profound offering. A honey cake, meant not to destroy, but to soothe. Not sword, nor spear, but bread and word. Suddenly, the myth becomes profoundly human. Power is not always something to be slain, but something to be calmed, respected, and appeased. So the real question is, were they telling a story about a monster or about us? What does modern thought say? Cerberus is the archetype of the threshold guardian. In psychology, such guardians symbolize the fears and trials we must confront before advancing to the next stage of growth. His three heads may signify three tests: courage, knowledge, remembrance. The honey cake becomes a symbol of gentleness, reminding us that not every barrier can be broken by force. Order is often maintained through cooperation and understanding. The aconite, said to sprout from his venom, is indeed a real poison. Known and feared in antiquity, it marked dangerous ground. The myth places peril on the map, warning that boundaries exist which can only be crossed with wisdom, preparation, and guidance. It reminds us, too, that music, words, and gifts can hold power where weapons fail. At the gates of the underworld, courage alone is not enough. You also need knowledge, discipline, and respect. This is why the story of Cerberus has endured, because it teaches us that the most important boundaries are not to be shattered, but to be understood. Perhaps this is humanity's greatest lesson. True strength lies not in destroying the unknown, but in learning to live alongside it and in finding order at the edge of chaos. Cerberus remains a lasting symbol of the boundary between life and death. He is an iconic figure of mythology who represents the fear of the unknown, the inevitability of death, and the importance of respecting natural order. Despite his terrifying form, Cerberus ultimately enforces balance. He is the guardian of one of the universe's most fundamental forces, life and death.
If you're intrigued by the world's most mysterious mythical beasts, don't miss the next episode, where we explore the legend of the Wendigo, a malevolent cannibal spirit from Algonquin mythology. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, turn on notifications, and let's dive deeper together into the world's myths and mysterious creatures. Thank you for watching, and join us for the next episode. And if you ever find yourself before the gates of the Underworld, be ready to face Cerberus.